virtual reality meditation space. TRIPP was voted one of Time Magazine's best inventions. Welcome to TRIPP.
So TRIPP is now available on all the top VR platforms, and we most recently expanded our mobile feature set. And sometime this week or next week, we're launching a phone number that you can call and just talk to our AI. And it's called Kokua. I'm Hawaiian, and Kokua means to help and support, and we're really excited about it.
I love it. You know, let's get to the center.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So one of the things that Nanea and I have in common is that we both have a long history in video games. And so I was in games for about 14 years, and I worked on the Activision Blizzard merger. I operated World of Warcraft for China. During the pandemic, I worked a bit on Fortnite. And so I'm a big believer in games. And these, digital immersive environments, as well as, many people, they think that a game is only, they only have one image of what a game is, that it's something where we're sort of facing a screen. But a game really, to me, is any situation where you have exploration, play, community, and a narrative. And so, even the telephone number is a form of a game. So I'd love to share with the audience, especially people who, might not have heard your story, what made you decide that you wanted to bring meditation and initially meditation, though you've expanded a lot from there, to the game platform?
Oh, there were so many kind of build out along the way. When you look back in hindsight, I almost feel like everything I've gone through has shaped me to run this company. But I didn't know it at the time. I started off playing video games as a way to retreat from a physical reality as a kid that wasn't optimal. My mother suffered with mental health issues and was a heroin addict, and as a result, my sisters and I were exposed to a lot of just bad experiences that I didn't have the toolkit to process. And so playing video games where I felt in control of my environment had a really positive effect on me. Even, I would say, being able to rage in multiplayer games later, having the container where there were no real consequences in my physical world, it was like an outlet for what was happening internally. And I met a therapist when I was having a mental health crisis as a teenager. I was about age 15, and she had just come back from Nepal, where she had learned a Tibetan meditation practice, and I was having this anxiety attack in her office, and she taught me this Tibetan breathing technique, and I believe it changed my life. Because all of a sudden I had the ability to insert a pause between the reaction that was about to happen. And I found it was a game changer. I was also very embarrassed by it. We didn't have a lot of mindfulness apps, which have done a great, I think, service to the world to destigmatize meditation, mental health support for the average person, let alone those who have a mental health diagnosis. But at that time, you know, it's kind of punk rock and into gangster rap, you know, all the things that you're into at that age. And so I would never tell anyone I meditated, but I found it to be a superpower. And then, you know, playing video games led me to a career in video gaming because I wanted to understand how they were made. And, you know, there was this transition period where I was working as a web developer at a company that got acquired by this LA tech incubator, and it was the first time I got a check so big that this light bulb went off in my mind that said, wow, there's a completely different way to make money in the world. And I just love the industry. They incubated a mobile game company that I ended up running tech at, and that's how eventually I ended up at Electronic Arts through an acquisition. We were one of the first early pioneers in mobile gaming, and so, you know, it's interesting because I think that, you know, when I worked at EA, I gave a lot of talks on the benefits of video game playing. Actually, Chamonix and I did the big TEDx conference in Orange County, Chamonix Jane, who's also here, and I talked about the benefits of girls playing video games, because I think it really, like, it unfolded an amazing life for me. And in that video, so many kids were going, Mom, there's this lady who says video games are actually good for you. And because it taught me strategy, it taught me resource management, all of that. So anyway, to answer your question specifically, I had the good fortune of being an early investor in Oculus. I had worked with the founding team at a cloud gaming company. We were doing these custom GPU racks, you know, to do GPU cloud, to do game streaming, way before what's happening now with AI. And many of them, after Sony acquired that company, Gaikai, went to go start Oculus, so a lot of us made investments in it. And one day, Brendan, the CEO of Oculus, invited me, my cousin, Keanu Reeves, the actor, and my late husband, Vic, down to Orange County to try the Oculus headset. And all the experiences were designed to create fear, and it was so visceral. And the whole ride home, it just like, I could not let it go. I kept thinking about if you could generate fear that easily in a person who knows they're in a conference room in Orange County, knows they have this headset in, but their brain and body are reacting to another reality at the same time, what else could you make someone feel? And that was really, I crafted a pitch around it. Tim Chang appeared out of the mist and said, I've been waiting for someone to pitch me this very idea for so long. And that's, you know, it's been a while, though. It's 7.5 years ago. Yeah. And I have a video of you trying, I think you were maybe the second person I had showed the prototype outside the company to, because I just respected you so much. And you were so generous to me. I was insecure about being a CEO. It was my first time. I was insecure about working in this space of neurotech, and you were so well versed in it, as was Tim. And your encouragement to me as a founder, it meant everything. So.
Yeah, you know.
Plus, you saved my life. I was having an allergic reaction once when she was at my home, and she saved my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so one of the things that, you know, it's interesting how things come full circle. So, you know, my sort of story with this too is that I was working in China. I was operating at that time one of the biggest branches of one of the biggest video games in the world. And I was coming back to the US. I'd done it for about 6.5 years. And I went on a meditation retreat before I was going to take another sort of interim spot. And on that meditation retreat, I felt the web of life. And, I felt it viscerally. And it was really meaningful because I had, I was a popular person, well known, but I was actually acutely lonely. And I spent my whole life lonely. My mother most likely was bipolar. Bipolar. And so I just I always kept a distance between me and other people. And so as a result, I had a lot of friends, but inside I felt really lonely. And so in this meditation retreat, I suddenly felt the web of life that connects all of us. And I felt it, like feeling this. And so on the other side of that, I'm also very pro gaming, and I wanted everyone to have that experience. But, my dad was a plumber. I grew up, I'm from, the suburbs of Houston, Texas, far, far out, and I realized that, retreats are, even if you don't pay for a retreat, it's an elite activity because the world works. Most people must work, and they must work every day. Right? And so I really wanted something that could make it possible for other people to experience what I experienced. So my first thing was combine meditation and technology. And then I came back, and this was actually pre-Calm, pre-Headspace. Headspace was still a meetup in London, and then I was like, well, not everyone's going to meditate, because it was still woo-woo 14 years in 2014. And I said, well, what about the benefits of meditation? And so then that was, mental, emotional, and social health. And that really was the genesis of, starting transformative tech. And, the defining moment I also remember from games that has brought me into this space too is that there was something that we did, I won't give a lot of detail because it doesn't matter, but there was something that we did that within 3 weeks, took about 2.5 weeks, fundamentally changed the culture of the entire game. And those games are massively multiplayer games. They're just digital communities. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It looks like a game, but it's really a digital community. And the culture changed overnight with something that we did. And so luckily we had a refresh coming that fixed the problem. Mm-hmm. But it made me realize, little tiny changes can have big impact. And so that was an example where it went negatively, at least for the business of the game for a moment. But it's if something goes negatively, you can also do it positively. So it's the same thing you did, where you were like, this causes fear. What if it could cause something else? So our origin stories are actually very similar.
Yeah, and Poppy and I were just talking, because when I entered the video game industry, because I had worked in web before, and most of video games prior to that were offline, with the exception of the MMO communities. But so I specialized in online, and we built a lot of things defensively so that if there were issues, we could identify them through analytics. We could pull them offline very quickly, and rather than wait weeks to update the application itself. And I think that really teed me up well for a career in the video game industry, driving that digital transformation of connected gameplay, because that's what I ended up doing at EA as well as at JAMDAT. And then Gaikai ultimately was very tech. And with AI, we don't know what we don't know as we launch these things. We just recently launched a feature on our mobile app yesterday where we generate an image in real time. We have launched that 4 times and pulled it down very quickly. So we have a little setting file where we can turn it off. We can turn off the AI. We have analytics that we're constantly putting in place. We're constantly tuning, because I think the humility you have to have with this emergent technology that has so much power to it is, how do you do it responsibly? Like Poppy and I were saying, it's not like the Facebook team started off saying, let's, destroy the self-esteem of teenagers, right? But they were just trying to figure out how to monetize their free service. And so even with the best intentions of getting out there to support people, things are going to happen. And how you code your tech to be defensive on that, people from the games industry know a lot about that, because we have seen everything bad. I had law enforcement teams report into me. You have a whole team of people in the video game industry. Whenever you have communities, Blizzard had it too, where you work with the FBI, the law enforcement, the NSA even, and you have to have that interface in, because wherever people get together, especially with children, you have to be hyper aware. And I feel like with what's about to explode with AI, there's a similar version of how do you moderate the AI itself that's interacting with people, especially people in vulnerable places. So one of the things I think, as we work as a digital health community or digital tech, trying to get beneficial things out there, is the combination of the teams of people from the gaming industry that know really how to run and build really highly transactional online services, have to collaborate with academics, neuroscience, the clinicians. It's not just about the regulatory path, and then you're going to tack on some gamification scheme that, I think this is why we have seen some failure. And so our approach at TRIPP was to go consumer first, so we could build the whole big audience and learn without making any claims, no therapeutic claims, no healing, even though it says that. And so we can start to build the technology and the engagement core loops. And it was interesting, because going back to when we launched on the Oculus and we launched on PlayStation, we were the first mindfulness app on the Oculus platform, I think the only one on PlayStation. It was mostly me just going to the people I know saying, please, I got to get more users so we can build the data foundation. They went, Nanea, these gamer dudes are not going to like your app. And I said, I don't care, I just need their sisters to download it, or, And then the pandemic happened, and come around the end of March, we started getting these emails that were along the lines of, bruh, this is helping me massively right now. And we were like 6 people at the time, and had a couple term sheets pulled, because the pandemic was like a venture, drying up, instant retraction at the beginning. And we got an email from a group of veterans who were meeting and using our app to manage how they were feeling. And they sent us the most moving message. And veterans are young. They're like 28, 32, they're in their early 30s. They were in Afghanistan or Syria. And I looked at that and I went, we got to fight for this. When you kind of find yourself as a founder, we have to fight for this. And today I'm really proud of the fact that the TRIPP audience is 60% male, which is really interesting for a wellness application.
Wow, I love that. And it's interesting, I think that I want to go on your point about the relevance of game and game understanding for the age of AI. So like one of the things that's going to happen, we talked about it yesterday a bit. So with the future of work and with jobs, AI is absolutely coming for tasks. But a job is more than, it's not coming for all of the tasks, but it is coming for some of the tasks. So we know like AI is coming for tasks. And then the next level is skills. And so people talk a lot about skills. You heard Christina and the other people talking about skills. So where we are right now too is that we don't know the full frontier of what skills it will have. So many of these, especially the foundation models, they're like savants, you know, and they each have sort of a different type of peculiarity, which is really interesting, some of that research. So it's sort of like, you know, one might be really great at poker, but you wouldn't have it cook you dinner. Or the other day, Tom Gruber, who was one of the co-founders and inventors of Siri, was here, and he had an image of a monkey flying a plane. And he was like, you want the monkey to swing around the jungle and eat bananas, but would you get in a plane flown by a monkey today? Probably not.
But you would watch a video.
But you would watch a video. So skills we don't know. But the thing that I think, what I said yesterday is like the top two survival skills in the age of AI are adaptability and ideation. Mm-hmm. The top two, you know, leadership and organizational skills is empowering learning and empowering change. So those are states and traits. And so the thing that video games are outstanding at is states and traits and transferable skills. Team building, iteration, exploration, critical thinking, problem solving. And so what I think is going to happen is that, you know, most game people, when people say gamification, we all wince inside. We sort of hurts inside.
I call it lameification. Yeah. It's really hard, even with like well-funded, the top video game teams with 200 developers, they get the game balancing wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and you've all felt it. It's so easy that you're bored, or it's so hard that you're frustrated. And it's to hit that sweet spot, it's very difficult. You can't tack it on at the end.
And most people, when they're building wellness or apps, or when they're thinking about gamification, they're basically taking something that sucks anyway and trying to make it a little bit better.
Well, mental well-being, I think it can backfire because it's all based on self-improvement, core loops, and treadmill, which of like trying to achieve some resiliency score, or this, that. And what that does is it's a constant reinforcement that you're not okay the way you are now, and it can actually make you feel worse.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff I've seen out there does that. They don't understand the core loop of how you reward someone for their contribution even to their own self-care. Right? Now,
yeah.
World of Warcraft understood how to reward people for the social interactions with the social guild. Like, there's a lot, if you look at video games like co-op mode gameplay, rewards the contribution. So, but I don't think a lot of people in healthcare working on these digital solutions understand that, right? They get into the KPIs of the measurement, and they kind of make that the gamification, but it's not enough to keep you like in that zone that Stephen Kotler's books talk about.
Yeah. And so now that K through 12, now that the way that we used to measure people, essays and things like that, it's totally gone. Like K through 12 is really kind of toast. The essay's toast. You know, all of these things, we're going to need real-time environments to actually train people and to observe states and traits, because those are the things that are future-proof.
And they vary culturally, right? Like red, I'm part Chinese. Red means something very different in China, emotionally, than it does here as well. So this is the beauty of these adaptive environments. We can, you know something or learn something about the person or the cohort and start to adapt in real time to that, to get them to that more beneficial state. But I mean, you know, you and I have played video games that were clearly designed by a bunch of dudes who, you know, never had a girlfriend, and right, like, and so, you know, but also then their approach in the games industry of designing girl games was, you know, let's put makeup on your unicorn, right? And that's not the right approach either. So it's, I think this is a really big opportunity for AI to start to really meet you where you're at, and then also we can learn and evolve models that can help you get to where you want to go as well, right?
And so, can you talk a little bit about Kokua and the telephone number? Because I think that's amazing.
Yeah, well, we did a couple other things too on the Meta Quest device a couple weeks ago. We launched a feature for Kokua where you can, in real time, create a voice clone and apply it to the AI so you're hearing yourself give yourself support. And it's really interesting. It developed because, I mean, sometimes you just have to build this stuff and then start to see how it goes.
I love it. It's like, don't call him. Don't call him.
That's right.
Do not call him.
Do not call him. That's right. What do you think you're going to get out of calling him? Right? Yeah, relationship coaching, I think, is a persona we're going to add soon because we've seen it come in. One of the topics that we see a lot, because our audience is fairly young. I mean, not child young. They're usually like when stress shows up, so it's around when they enter college. 18 to 44 is the majority of our audience. But you'll hear a lot of, along the lines of, I can't stop thinking about this girl. How do I manifest her texting me back, right? So that's where we realize, wow, relationship coaching is a thing, you know, and also how to just navigate big feelings. But anyway, going to the voice cloning thing, because we were a startup, I had to be the voice. And also we had hired some actors initially, and they sounded like meditation teachers. I invite you to. And we went, well, it just didn't feel authentic. And we've learned a lot of things that even just like a slight lisp and hearing the breath and hearing some mouth noises even, it just humanizes it more and makes it more comfortable. So, you know, I used to go in the studio and record and do all of that, and then it just got so challenging as we grew as a company to be CEO and be the voice artist. So we created an AI version of it, and that we've been using AI in our workflow for a couple of years. So, and then we realized we could generate it in real time. And the first time we launched Kokua, and I was hearing myself respond to my saying how I was feeling right in the moment, and it was really responding to that in my own voice, I had like this emotional reaction. And I also understood that I was having a very unique experience from the hundreds of thousands of people using our app, is that I was hearing my own self be positive. And I don't know how many people meditate in the room, but one of the pain points with a meditation practice is that self-awareness wall. Like, we all kind of start off in the West thinking, oh, it's like a chill pill. I'll just relax and connect to my breath and try to get more focused. And in that quietness, you start to realize who you are and how you think. And that can be very painful. A lot of people give up at that point because it's very negative. A lot of the self-ruminating, you know, just the inner dialogue is like a war zone all day long, right? That person's an idiot. I can't believe she said that. She's not qualified for this. Oh my God, why did I do that? We're 10 times harder on ourselves. So it was like that light bulb moment where I went, how do we enable this for everyone? So we launched that on the Meta Quest, and we're getting ready to launch it on our mobile app in a few weeks. And then when we were testing conversational mode, in our mobile app right now, the AI is very turn-based. And that was because we wanted to keep it a little more meditative. But when we wanted convo mode, we couldn't test it easily because it required like developing a different version of the app itself. So we decided, let's just throw it up on a telephone number so we can test it and train it. But we realized that being able to just call an AI is actually very compelling. So that's what we're launching.
Fantastic.
Soon. And soon on that, then once the voice cloning is live on mobile, you'll be able to set a default voice that will, so you'll be able to call yourself. I have no idea what that's going to feel like, but the early feedback from our Oculus, our Meta users, it's super interesting.
I think it's going to be hot. hot.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question.
Yeah.
10 years from now, what would you like to see with this category and wellness and well-being?
I actually am here for the unfolding. I think we live in one of the most exciting and terrifying times. And the consciousness that we're going to need to navigate the sea change that is underway now, especially during the next 6 years, does AI get centralized and regulated where there's so much concentration of power in a way that that's frightening to me? Does it get democratized where we can just put anything out there? That also has. So I'm not going to make a 10-year prediction for now, but I think that the unfolding in and of itself is going to define us as a community and a culture. And so it's going to require that we all level up our compassion with the job displacement that we're about to see. But then on the other side of shitty human jobs going away to automation, what do we do as a community, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be tremendous innovation and opportunity. When I started working in mobile games, we had no idea that there would be an influencer economy on the other side of launching 3 out of the first 5 games on the iPhone, right? And so you think about, or the gig economy. None of those existed. What are the new earning models that will emerge from this?
Yeah.
But I do think that it's going to be about agents and not about app downloads. Just like when I started working in tech, it was web addresses before app downloads. I think, and your relationship to the agent is going to be built on trust and incentive models. So, because young people today understand the value of their attention. If you ask any kid what they want to be when they grow up, they want to be an influencer. Who would have thought, right? It's like today's pop star. And so they understand that there's a currency in their engagement and interaction, and we need humans to interact with the AIs. I mean, there's lots of evidence that synthetically trained models are not as good as human-trained models. So, I just think it's really interesting. I'm so excited about the impact on humanity and the positive outcomes that can be driven of it. But I think equally there's the potential for a very abnormal concentration of power beyond anything we've seen in our lifetime as a species.
So, Human Tech Week 2026. We will revisit this question because that's like 10 years from now. Actually, 1 year. Okay. Well, thank you so much.